Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 31 Media podcast. My name is Vaishnavi.nashte. I'm the marketing and PR manager here at 31 Media. Today's podcast is in collaboration with the AI Awards and Summit, which will be held in London in April 2025. So, this year. The entries for the awards are currently open, so make sure that you enter as soon as possible. Today, we have on our podcast Professor Julie Wall. She's an expert in artificial intelligence and advanced computing at the University of West London. She specializes in AI driven systems for speech, language, and data science applications. With over 50 scholarly publications and extensive industry engagement, she actively contributes to setting standards and advancing AI research. She's also one of our esteemed judges on the judging panel for the AI Awards, and I'm extremely delighted to welcome her to the AI Awards 31 Media podcast today. So, welcome to the podcast, Julie. How are you today?
Thank you. Very good. And yeah, delighted to be one of the judges for the AI Awards this year.
Yeah, we're extremely excited to have you as a judge as well, because, of course, like a person with your experience can bring so much value to the table and share so much insights, especially with what our audience is looking for. So, on the same line, would you, before we actually dive into the questions, would you mind sharing a bit more about yourself with our audience today?
Yeah, sure. And I think you gave a very nice introduction, so I'll try not to repeat that too much. Yeah, so I'm a professor of AI and advanced computing at the University of West London, and I'm very lucky to be involved, very happy to be involved in AI as a researcher and as a lecturer. So I teach the subject to the next generation of developers, but I'm also really keen on research, and I've been involved in AI research for I think it's 20 years now. So from early days looking at spiking neural networks.
Mhm.
But over the last 10 years, I've become very interested in using AI or designing intelligent systems for dealing with speech and language and text. So kind of the traditional natural language processing, and then dealing with how the large language models have kind of taken over NLP.
Right.
And I'm really interested in how they actually work and, um, the ethics behind them. I've become more interested in the ethics side of AI and explainable AI.
Hmm.
Yeah, so as you said, I've been a keen researcher. I've published a lot in the area, and more recently, I've become involved in the BSI, the British Standards Institute. So this allows me to get involved in the industry in a kind of slightly different way. So advocating
Right.
for responsible AI practices and everything, etc. Yeah, so that's me.
Right. Amazing. Beautiful. And of course, with your research in AI and being in this discipline for such a long time now, what do you think about artificial intelligence and where it's like taking us in the future?
I think it's becoming very obvious in the last couple of years that it's really started to become very ubiquitous with kind of society. Instead of something that we would see movies about, or the general public say would read,
Right.
sci-fi books or watch movies. Now it's a term that we kind of freely use.
Exactly.
Companies are using it as part of their advertising rather than maybe trying to hide it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really reshaping or changing how we work for sure, but also how we live. It's impacting us at home and at work. And it's really starting to influence industries like healthcare very positively,
Mm-hmm.
education. We can have more personalized education for our students.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the big common word these days is also sustainability, and
Yeah.
how can we keep making AI in a more sustainable way? And I guess one of the areas I will be interested in will be how AI is used in finance in the financial services.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's really changed is that it's not just about automation anymore. So AI traditionally, especially machine learning or even deep learning, was taking a task that we could do as humans very well and automating that task. So it's kind of efficiencies, scaling up, saving time, saving money.
Yeah.
With the large language models, especially we've now have this kind of generative AI where it's more um, it's creating content as well as making decisions. So, and that's why it's starting to influence us at home and at work because so many tasks can now be either completed
Automated.
or enhanced by AI.
Right. And I'm curious, like, why specifically finance?
I think it was one of those industries that was ripe for AI to be
Mm,
used.
mm,
The one area that we looked into was using AI in fraud detection. So insurance companies specifically, they want to catch fraud, of course, which is good for us as customers because it brings down our premiums. But they're also
yeah.
very, very reluctant to falsely accuse. So customer experience and customer service are kind of top top priority. So we did a research project a couple of years ago, which was using conversational AI to detect potential cases of fraud. So when somebody like me calls into a contact center and we have a conversation, it's monitoring that conversation to detect is there
Mm-hmm.
any suspicious behavior going on. Because these industries are they have to deal with compliance. They're heavily regulated, and then most importantly, because the end user is a human, so it's a customer at the end of the day. So I was really interested to see how AI could be used very
Mm-hmm.
successfully, but also taking into account that this is going to affect individuals. So that was one of the areas that I was keen to apply, or to get involved in a research project.
Right. And out of curiosity, like, does your research potentially show that there might be like comparatively a higher adoption of AI in finance as opposed to like other areas?
I would say that it's probably has been financial services have been adopting AI maybe before other areas.
Mm-hmm.
There's more money in financial services and
Right.
banking, insurance than there would necessarily be in other areas. So I think they would have applied it beforehand, but I think other areas are very much catching up. Automated decision making, business intelligence, even
Mm-hmm.
drug discovery, the whole of pharmacology is now looking towards AI, and that's kind of a big money area as well.
Yeah. Amazing. And according to you, what are certain trends that all of us should look forward to in 2025 with respect to AI?
As a university lecturer involved in pedagogy and education, I think AI will definitely be used for a more personalized approach, um, kind of providing teaching and learning and supporting students with individual needs. I think that's kind of one big area that
Mm,
we will see blossom or take off in the next. It already kind of has, but I think it'll become more common. Healthcare has always used, some element of computer vision, automation, but I
mhm.
think healthcare, um, maybe predicting patient outcomes, developing, as I said, new drugs and pharmacology. I think that's a huge area it is going to boom. And customer service, using large language models like ChatGPT
Yeah,
as an intermediary between a company and their customers to provide better customer service. I think that's going to be something to watch.
absolutely. You've actually mentioned some of the key categories that we have for the awards this year. So I'm quite excited to see the projects that we have under these categories as well.
Very good, very good. Like,
And sorry, you were
go
saying?
on. Yeah, I was just thinking, I suppose the other one I mentioned earlier was sustainability. So whether it's using AI to deal with climate problems
Yeah.
or kind of how can AI be developed in a more efficient, cost-effective, but also energy effective way is something that research is really going to focus on as well, I think, in the next year, couple
Mm.
of years.
I'm personally quite curious about what the projects would look like under the ethics category as well, like how people would use AI under that category. I'm quite curious.
Yeah, I think as a category by itself, whether it's like explainable AI,
Mm,
how AI that's used for decision making, ethics is hugely important. Um, but I do think that we should see that all entries should prioritize the ethics of their solution. You know, the consequences of AI being used without proper thought or even nefariously, it is a big problem, to put it mildly. So I think all of our entrants should really consider how their projects address fairness
yeah,
for their users, accessibility, how accessible is the approach, the solution, who is it going to affect? And another one I'm really interested in is transparency.
yeah.
Is the solution clear, transparent? It's, that kind of age-old black box AI is not in favor anymore. So I think the
Yeah.
eth- research or projects that focus on ethics is exciting, but I would expect to see ethics across the board.
Right. And it's great that you mentioned that because that sort of brings me to my next question with what your expectations would be as a judge from whatever entries you'll be judging this year. I assume like ethical perspective would be one of the things that you take into consideration, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the ethics side.
Mm.
I love to hear about cutting edge research. So kind of really new novelty is always important. I'm also really keen on practical applications. So what is the actual problem? Has the problem been clearly defined? And is
Mhm.
the problem important? Is the solution that they're putting forward, is it successful? But also, is it kind of making impact? So is it making impact in the real world? Is it
Yeah.
a local impact, a global impact, societal? So th those are all different things. We would love to see projects from lots of different industries,
Mhm.
whether it's healthcare, education, I mentioned, sustainability. It would be good to see a very diverse range of projects being entered. And, AI can be used in such versatile ways. It'll be really interesting to see the different creative approaches that the participants or the entrants are going to come up with.
Exactly. And the good thing about the awards is that it is open to like organizations of all sizes, isn't it? And individuals from everywhere. So I think that's the good point because we get to see projects and initiatives from all across the world. So I think yeah, that's a great thing. But do you think like there are certain projects that according to you would be qualified to enter the awards or you don't have like that kind of a preference?
No, I think the AI Awards is and should be a very inclusive platform. And
Yeah.
the judging process will be keen to see entries from, as you say, startups, large enterprises, an individual researcher or developer, and even global teams would be really interesting. So it's really about the quality of the idea
Yeah.
behind why AI is needed, and how it's applied, and then the impact that the project can deliver. So it's not really about the size or the resources of the organization. It's about the
Yeah.
idea itself. And as I said before, a really strong application is about being really clear about what is the problem, why is
Mm,
AI a solution, and what's innovative about it. Innovation is always key. It's a very popular term at the moment as well. But yeah, I don't think any specific type of entrant is
mm,
desired. I think it's diversity is always best.
mm. Yeah, that's a key point, isn't it? And my
Yeah.
last question to you is, do you have any specific tips for the entrance of 2025? Like if I had to ask you, what are the top 5 tips that come to your mind when somebody is trying to build like an award entry where they're trying to win? What would those 5 tips be?
Okay. This is similar to what I say to students as well. The first thing would be tell a story. You need to make it clear. What, as I said, what's the problem? What problem are you solving? Why is that problem important? And why does the AI solution that you've chosen, and the solution that you get, why does it make a difference?
Mm.
for its field or for its users. So providing the context, right? Sharing the application, writing it as a story is hugely important. Secondly, I guess it will be, can you measure the outcome of the project in any way? So it would be great as a judge to see some evidence about how the solution works. So these
Mm.
could be metrics, could be performance metrics. It could be, if it's an early stage project, you may have some early stage results from a pilot test. It'd be really nice to see some user feedback if there's some users involved in the whole pipeline.
Mm.
Yeah, so something evidential, something that we can actually see, okay, there's an outcome here. Going back to the ethics, hugely important. Definitely don't forget those. How does your project deal with fairness, privacy, transparency, accessibility? How it will be worth mentioning how your solution is unbiased. How is it dealing with user data, etc. Mentioning this is very important. Um, and then the last thing, again, I would also say to my students, make sure it's really clear, concise. Don't worry about using jargon. I would probably leave it out.
Yeah.
The us judges are probably all from diverse fields, so we want to see really clear, simple, interesting applications.
Mm.
Well organized. Yeah, I think focus on making it a well-structured application is probably the last thing I would do as well.
Beautiful. Those are like such key points that you've mentioned. I was literally taking down notes as well because a lot of people they ask me for tips, and of course I can always send them like videos that I've conducted with the judges. But these are such key points, isn't it? Because a lot of people they think including jargon would help them with their entry, but seldom does it actually help them.
No,
But
or
yeah,
acronyms. If you don't know what an acronym is and you have to go and look it up, it makes you just think, I don't want to have to go look this up. So just tell me the
exactly.
story. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much, Julie. These were like amazing points that you've mentioned. And thank you so much for sharing these very insider tips with us for our audience as well. But yeah, do you have any last comments for our audience today?
no, not really. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing all the applications from all the different projects. I'm always interested in seeing the cutting edge ideas, especially in AI. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. I'm super excited for the summit as well as the awards this year. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it and looking forward to meeting you at the awards.
You too.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Julie.
Thank
Bye.
you.